Hey guys, it's Sushicat here and welcome to the first episode of Let's Create. In this episode I decided to kind of show you the process of a case design I made for my phone case. So for this phone case, there was really only three things on my mind. For one, I wanted to make sure the design was removable so that at any time I got bored of it, I could just swap in a new design. Secondly, I recently got new watercolor paints and I figured, you know what? I'm designing this new phone case, I might as well use watercolors. And thirdly, and most importantly, I wanted to do the design based off something or someone in my original universe. So the first thing I did was trace out a template using a clear phone case that I plan to use. If you're planning on doing any design on any special kind of paper, make sure to just make a template on cheap paper or regular paper first. This way you can trial and error and adjust without having to worry about cutting off too much and wasting materials. To make my life easier, I just decided to use a paper trimmer to cut out the template faster and more accurately. If you have some money to spare, I honestly highly recommend getting one. It saves up so much time and it saves you from potential hand cramps. After that, I just made sure that it fits snugly into the phone case. I trimmed off any excess with a trimmer and a pair of scissors for the corner, and then I also traced an outline for the camera lens. So with the template basically ready to go, I just got out my watercolor paper and traced a shape out using the template, and then I cut out the shape with a paper trimmer. Now if you are planning on cutting thick paper with a paper trimmer, make sure you press down very firmly on the blade or cut over the same line over and over again. Otherwise you're going to end up having paper that isn't actually cut thoroughly. I just got a craft knife to cut off the part that wasn't cut off, and that solved my issue quite easily. Now, I would definitely consider myself a certified idiot because when there's one issue, there's bound to be more. I totally forgot that when I do watercolor, I like to kind of tape my papers down just to prevent warping. Now, since I didn't leave any excess and I sure as hell wasn't going to just put tape over where I was going to paint because then I wouldn't get paint on certain areas, I had to kind of DIY some double tape with masking tape and put that on the other side and hoped that that would at least prevent some warping, which it did. I was just concerned that when I peeled it off, it would rip like part of the paper from the back. Luckily it didn't. Finally, it is time to paint. The watercolors I'm using for the first time are the Sakura Koi watercolors. I saw a lot of good reviews about this, and since it was a decent price for the number of colors I could get, I just went ahead and bought it. Whenever I start off with a watercolor piece where I'm going to completely paint the background almost the same color, I like to get the paper damp or do a light wash just to spread out the paint more easily since it's more fluid. I'm pretty sure I didn't put enough water here though. Now with watercolors, you kind of want to paint it like it's layers and also start off light. You essentially just want to put down a layer of paint, or in this case watercolor, let it dry and then paint over it again and again and again. You're essentially just building it up until it's almost opaque depending on whatever you're trying to achieve. Now you could just paint the whole thing in one go or add in more paint without letting it properly dry, but if you're working with multiple colors, it's best to let layers or certain sections dry before adding in new colors, because otherwise the colors will mingle and muddle and just bleed into each other. Now if you do end up screwing up or you just don't like the colors you've used, have no fear, because if the paint is still wet and you have some paper towels lying around, you can just quickly soak up your mistakes. Now obviously you can't just use the paper towel willy-nilly, because if you do it wrong, you can leave certain marks on the paper that you probably don't want on it. Just lightly dab it on the paper and it'll just soak the wet paint right up. I just use regular facial tissues just because they're softer and not as rough. For this phone case, I wanted to do a traditional version of one of my artworks with some few tweaks. The night sky in my original artwork looks pretty, but I didn't want it to be just almost entirely one color, and I'm not going to sit all day trying to make a cluster of stars that make the shape of a heart. So I searched up some photos of night skies, and I really like this one for the blues and purples, as well as the tiny bit of white that kind of comes through, almost like an ombre sky. Now for the actual OCs, I decided to not paint them on, but rather just print out a sticker version of them from the original artwork. This way I can adjust where they are on the phone case and don't have to worry about messing up colors when it comes to actually painting them. Unfortunately for me, my printer did a pretty good job of messing up the colors themselves, and I didn't discover what the problem was until a few days after I had finished this. But you know what? A sticker is a sticker, and I'm not going to waste paper. Now with the design pretty much done, all I had to do was trace the outline of the camera hole, cut it out, and put it in the phone case, and boom, it's pretty much done. I hope you guys liked the phone case design, the process, and the video itself. I had a fun time making this and I really liked how it turned out, so I definitely do want to do something like this again in the future. But until next time, see ya!